Hi, welcome back to Believer Science Academy, Bengaluru. This is the topic of the day discussion, and today we are going to discuss a very important topic from both UPSC prelims as well as mains perspective, and that is UNFCC Cop29 Baku. So, in this video, we will see what are the outcomes of COP29 which was held at Baku, and we'll also see the background of UNFCC, and we'll also see India's stance towards UNFCC, how it has evolved over the years. Okay, so presently the UNFCC COP29 was held at Baku, which is the capital of Azerbaijan. This conference saw around 200 countries negotiate agreements aimed at addressing global climate challenges. Okay, now what are the key highlights of COP19? Meaning, what were the outcomes of COP19? The COP29 outcomes were involving all the communities, such as indigenous communities, farmers, gender-based issues, funding, etc., etc. So we will see what were the outcomes of it. Very important outcomes. These outcomes are especially important from prelims perspective. Okay, so do make a notes of it, and you can expect a question in both UPSC prelims as well as upcoming KPSC prelims. Okay, so be thorough with this one. So what is the new climate finance goal? A major breakthrough at COP29 was the new collective quantified goal on climate finance. It aims to triple climate finance for developing countries to US $300 billion per year by 2035 from the previous goal of USD 100 billion, with the developed countries taking the lead. Okay, in 2015 Paris Agreement, there was a aim to gather $100 billion per year in order to support the developing countries. Now they want to extend it from 100 billion to $300 billion. Okay, which is a significant improvement. And then it also makes a general call on all the actors to scale up climate financing to US $1.3 per year by 2035 from all public and private sources to help developing countries mitigate and adapt climate impacts. Okay, see, what is climate change? It is the long-term impact because of global warming. Okay, the global warming is the result of rise in greenhouse gases. Who were the main contributors of greenhouse gases? It was the developed European as well as American countries. Okay, these were the developed countries and they were the industrialized countries. In the 18th and 19th century, they began to industrialize, and as a result, they started emitting more greenhouse gases. And present global warming is the result of that greenhouse gases emission. So, who were the beneficiary of industrial revolution? The developed countries. But who is suffering from these global warming? It is the developing nations or underdeveloped nations. So, in order to compensate for the losses they are guessing, okay, in order to compensate for the losses which the developing and developed countries, underdeveloped countries are going through, there needs to be a financing mechanism so that they can compensate for mitigating or adapting. What is mitigating? Mitigating is reducing the impact of climate change. What is adapting? There are certain outcomes of climate change which you cannot mitigate or which we cannot change. So instead, what we can do is we have to adapt our lifestyle to that particular changes. So there are different funds which aims to provide the finances for both developing and undeveloped countries for either mitigative measures or adaptive measures. Okay, so this is based on common but differential responsibilities. Okay, common because all the countries are emitting greenhouse gases. Differential because the emission of greenhouse gases differs from different countries. Okay, and then there is an outcome on carbon market agreements. Okay, what is carbon markets? It is a virtual market. Okay, virtual market where you can trade the ownership of carbon. Okay, suppose a country is there. Okay, in a year, a country is going to emit certain amount of carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide will be emitted. So that carbon dioxide emitted can either be like if we quantify it, carbon dioxide, 1 metric ton of carbon dioxide is called as a carbon unit. This carbon unit can be sold, traded off, or exchanged between different countries or used in a neutral market. Okay, aim here is to, if you are emitting certain amount of carbon dioxide, you should also mitigate that. You should also reduce that carbon dioxide emission, or you can either by afforestation, or you can reduce the carbon dioxide by involving in green transition projects. Okay, so that was the outcome of Kyoto Protocol. Initially, it was mandatory. Initially, it was common but differential. In Paris Agreement, it converted into national determined, mainly like voluntary contributions. Now there is a final agreement on carbon mechanisms. Okay, what are the final agreements? COP29 reached a landmark agreement to finalize the mechanisms for carbon markets, including country-to-country trading, that is under Article 6 of the Paris Agreement, and a centralized carbon market under the United Nations, that is under Article 6.4 of the Paris Agreement. Okay, so either between country to country, two countries can trade off between their carbon emissions, or they can they can use a central market under United Nations. Okay, where they can use the carbon credits. Okay, where they can buy carbon credits, sell their carbon credits, and use that for contributing to nationally determined contributions. Okay, it also makes a general call on all the actors to scale up climate financing to United like US dollars 1.3 trillion per year by 2035 from all the public and private sources to help developing countries mitigate and adapt to climate impacts, which I already discussed. So, what is Article 6.2? 6.2, it is under Paris Agreement. It allows bilateral agreements between countries to trade carbon credits based on mutually agreed terms. Okay, Paris Agreement, Paris Agreement Treaty Mechanism, which is also known as Article 3 6.4. It is a centralized, unified nations managed carbon emission offset and trading system. Okay, if there is no centralized mechanism, it is country to country, and if there is a central mechanism, it comes under 6.4. Okay, not so very important, but this is very important. Okay, carbon credit market mechanism. And then there is a declaration on methane reduction also. Okay, so methane is considered as one of the chief contributor to global warming. It is one of the chief greenhouse gases. So in order to reduce methane, there is declarations. So over 30 countries, including Germany, USA, UK, and UAE, endorsed the COP29 declaration on reducing the methane from organic waste. This is very important. Reducing methane, especially from organic waste. Okay, is India a member of this one? Unfortunately, no. India is not a signatory. Okay, India feels that because of the livestock industry in India and because of the present developing status of the India, it needs a certain time period before it can focus on the reducing methane, because methane is a result of livestock industry. You cannot directly go on and change the livestock industry at present, so it requires certain times. That is why it is not part of this declaration. Article 6.2 allows bilateral agreement between countries to trade carbon credits based on the mutual agreed terms. So here there can be another agreement where they can use the market to change or trade of methane emissions also. The declaration targets the waste sector's methane emissions, which contribute to 20% of global methane emissions. Okay, especially waste sectors. It focuses on 5 priority areas, that is nationally determined contributions, regulation of the emissions, data, finances, and partnerships. Okay, and then within the declaration, they also encourage countries to include sectoral targets for reducing methane emissions from organic waste in their NDCs. Okay, and then this builds on the global methane pledge. Okay, global methane pledge was a result of COP20 and COP28, but India is not signature of this also, to reduce the global methane emissions by 30% by 2030, addressing methane from agriculture, waste, and fossil fuels. Okay, in COP28, there was a global methane pledge which aimed at reducing the methane emission by 30%, and it included agriculture, waste, and fossil fuels. But the uniqueness about this declaration of reducing methane in COP29 is it focuses on reducing the methane from organic waste. Okay, so that to 20% of complete emission is a result of waste industry, so they want to reduce the emission from waste industries. Okay, next there is a agreement also on indigenous people and local communities. Okay, as I told you, because of the developing countries, because of developed countries and their emissions, developing countries or underdeveloped countries are suffering, and most of the underdeveloped countries have indigenous communities. Indigenous communities are those which have settled in the particular space for a long period of time. Okay, most of the indigenous communities live in harmony with the nature, but because of climate change, because of global warming, their nature is also getting harmed. As the nature is getting harmed, their habitat, their lifestyle, their culture, they are also impacted, they are also affected. So in order to compensate, in order to protect their unique culture, in order to protect their unique script, language, etc., there is a declaration. Okay, so what comes under this declaration is COP29 reinforce the importance of indigenous people and local communities in addressing climate change. Okay, COP29 adopted the Baku work plan. This is very important. If suppose there is a question in UPSC prelims or KPSC prelims, such as what does Baku work plan deal with, and the options are dealing with the finances, dealing with the farmers, dealing with gender, or dealing with indigenous people? And the correct answer will be dealing with indigenous people and local communities regarding their contribution to climate change. Okay, work plan. And they also renewed facilitative working group mandate under the local communities and indigenous people platform. LCIPP is a local communities and indigenous peoples platform, and there was a facilitative working group previously present, and they have renewed this one. Next, the Baku work plan prioritizes bridging indigenous knowledge with the modern science, enhancing indigenous participation in the climate dialogues, and embedding indigenous values into climate policies. Okay, so there is a synthesis of indigenous knowledge and the modern sciences, indigenous culture and the modern development, so that both go hand in hand. Okay, and then the facilitative working group will implement the Baku work plan in a gender responsive and collaborative manner with a review of progress scheduled at 2024 2027. Okay, so they will see for 3 years how it is going on, and they will review that one. And then facilitative working group of the LCIIP is a constituted body under the COP24 to further operationalize the LCIPP and facilitate its functioning on knowledge, engagement, and climate policies, working with the diverse bodies. Okay, this facilitative working group was a result of COP24. Okay, yeah, it was aimed at using the functions on knowledge, engagement, and climate policies. Okay, now it has been renewed. Next, another outcome of COP29 is the gender and climate change. Okay, so for example, the climate change or global warming, it is going to affect all the sectors of the society, but it is going to disproportionately affect the women. Okay, because for example, there are certain communities in India. There are certain communities in India where there is a scarcity of water, such as Rajasthan. Okay, because of global warming, all the lakes are being dried up. If the lakes are dried up and the bringing water, it is the function of women in most of the Indian households. So they have to travel to more than 5-10 kilometers to fetch the water. So who is it affecting more? It is affecting women more. Now, whose responsibility is cooking in India? Okay, it is the responsibility of women in the households, Indian households. Because of global warming, because of climate change, and because of lack of LPG connections in India, most of the women are made to cook the Indian food through wood, etc., etc. As a result, they are more susceptible to indoor pollution. Okay, so it is disproportionately affecting women more than men. Understood? So in order to bridge that gap, in order to focus more on women, this gender and climate change has been taken by COP29. Okay, a decision was made to extend the Lima working program on gender, that is LWPG, for another 10 years. Okay, there is a Lima working plan present on focusing on gender and climate change, but it has been extended for another 10 years, which reaffirms the gender equality in climate action and the need for a new gender action plan to be adopted at COP30. A COP30 will be held at Belém, which is in Brazil. Okay, and then Article 3.2, that is fine. Next, it was established, that is Lima work program was established in 2014. The LWPG aims to advance gender balance and integrate the gender considerations to ensure gender responsive climate policy and action under the Convention of the Paris Agreement. Okay. Okay. Another interesting topic. Okay. Before you continue this discussion, I'll tell you about. Okay, there is a phenomenon, or there is a term called as water waves. Water waves. It is a phenomenon which is observed in the water deficient regions of Rajasthan in India. Okay, Rajasthan. What is happening here? Normally, the purpose of wives is to complete a marriage. When you marry someone, that person is going to be a wife or husband. Okay, so their purpose will be both like balancing the family, like reciprocal economic relations, and then as a member of family, etc., etc. They share certain responsibility. They share certain relationships. But this phenomena of waterways, here the man is going to marry a woman. Okay, marry a female person for the only purpose of fetching water. Only purpose of fetching water. Okay, so this is how in human the climate change can have impact on. Okay, so the climate change or global warming are reducing the water sources. As a result, bringing the water, as it is a responsibility of women, it is harming more women. But because the men who have already have a wife, and they don't want to burden them with extra work, they are marrying another wife, they're marrying another woman, and their sole purpose is fetching the water. Normally what is happening is they are buying in the sense they are marrying a woman from a different state from northeastern India or Bihar, UP, etc., other regions, and they are bringing those women to their households, and they are made to do the household chores as well as fetching the water. This phenomenon is known as water wives. Okay, it was in news recently under Indian society, so I thought maybe you should know this one. Next, another outcome of Baku COP29 is Baku Harmonia climate initiative for farmers. Okay, it also focuses on farmers. The COP29 presidency, in partnership with the FAO, that is Food and Agriculture Organization, launched the Baku Harmonia climate initiative for farmers. So suppose there is a question on Baku Harmonia initiative. It deals with what section of the society? It deals with farmers. Okay. It is a platform that brings together the dispersed landscape of existing climate initiatives in the field of food and agriculture in order to make support for farmers easier and to find and facilitate access to finance. Okay. There have been many schemes or many programs brought under UNFCCC which focuses on food and agriculture, but they are very dispersed. One focus on complete agriculture, another focus on food, another focuses on pesticides, etc., etc. So the aim here is to bring them all together under one platform so that the resources can be used efficiently and so that it can help farmers more. Okay, it can benefit farmers more. Next, so this is about Baku 29, COP 29. Those are the outcomes. It dealt with farmers, indigenous people, gender, carbon market mechanisms, as well as finances, and methane, of which India is not part of methane pledge or either methane reduction plan. That is very important. Okay, now we'll have a brief discussion about UNFCCC and its past. What is UNFCCC? UNFCCC is the United Nations Framework on Climate Change. Okay, it was the outcome of 1992 Rio Earth Summit. Okay, there was a very famous summit which held in 1992 in Rio de Janeiro of Brazil, and under this Rio de Janeiro there were three major groupings which came out of Rio de Janeiro. One was our UNFCCC, that is United Nations Framework on Climate Change. Another one was UNCBD, that is United Nations Convention on Biodiversity, UNCBD, and another one was UNCCD, that is United Nations Convention on Combating Desertification and Deforestation. Okay, these are the three major outcomes of your Rio Earth Summit. UNFCCC, it focused on climate change. BD focused on biodiversity, like use of biodiversity and its access and benefit sharing to other communities. And this one, United Nations Combating Desertification, it focused on drought, deforestation, etc., etc. Okay, so these are the three outcomes of Rio Earth Summit, and these three together are called as Rio Trios. Okay, this is a small term. In case there is a question such as which of the following conventions or which of the following initiatives are called as Rio Trios, then these answer will be these three. Okay, so this is the background. And now about UNFCCC. What is COP? Okay, we hear COP many times. Every year there will be COP. COP is the shortcut for Conference of Parties. What is Conference of Parties? Conference of Parties is the highest decision or supreme decision making body of UNFCCC. Okay, there is COP for UNCBD, there is COP for UNCCD also. Those are different COPs, that is Conference of Party. For those initiatives or convention is different. For this it is different. And UNFCCC conferences, it meets in Bonn, the secretariat, which is the secretariat unless the party offers to host a session. Okay, in case there is a country which wants to host its in particular state or particular country, then it is going to have a COP in that particular country. For example, this year it is being held at Baku, but in case the country is not big enough, in case country doesn't have the resources to host it in their country, it can be held in Bonn. Okay, So it meets every year unless the parties decide otherwise. First COP was held in Berlin, Germany in 1995. Okay, 1992 was the year UNFCCC was made, and 1983 it was operationalized. It took 2 years to decide on these things, and the first was held in 1995. Okay, so some of the important COPs in the recent history are COP3, which was held in Kyoto, Japan. This adopted Kyoto Protocol. Under Kyoto Protocol, there are legally binded this legally binded the developing countries, so developed countries, to reduce emission targets. Okay, this Kyoto Protocol divided the country into A1, Annexure 1, Annexure 2, non-scheduled countries. Okay, non-annexure countries. So these A1 and A2 are the Annexure 1 and Annexure countries, are the developed countries, and these are normally developing and underdeveloped countries, and these two countries were bound by this Kyoto Protocol to reduce certain emission. Okay, they were bound for emission reduction targets. It was based on common but differential responsibilities. And then COP7 has held at Marrakesh, which is in Morocco. Marrakesh Accord set a stage for ratification of Kyoto Protocol. Okay, and then COP8 was held in New Delhi. This Delhi Declaration was focused on development of needs for the poorest countries and technology transfer for climate change to mitigation. Okay, so if we are developing countries and developed countries want to help for the reduction of climate change, the developed countries, have to transfer some sort of technology for us. Okay, so that we can also help in climate mitigation projects. Then COP15 was held in Copenhagen in Denmark. The developed countries pledged up to $30 billion for fast start financing. Okay, financing target started in COP15, which was in Copenhagen, which is the capital of Denmark. And then COP14 in Poznan, which is in Poland. This adopted the fund under Kyoto Protocol launched. Okay, fund under protocol was launched. That is adaptation fund under protocol. And then Poznan strategic program on technology transfer. Whatever was there in Delhi Declaration, it was adopted in Poland. And then COP13, which is in Bali, Indonesia. This is very important for Bali Record Map and Bali Action Plan. What is the Bali Record Plan Action Plan? On shared vision, mitigation, adaptation, technology, and financing. It included everything. Okay, and then after this, another important agreement was the COP19, which was held in Cancun, Mexico. This was Cancun Agreement. Cancun Agreement, it assisting the developing nations in dealing with climate change. For this, they established a fund which was called as Green Climate Fund. The aim of Green Climate Fund was to help the developing countries and the underdeveloped countries. And then COP18, which was held in Doha, Qatar. This Doha Amendment to Kyoto Protocol, meaning reducing the greenhouse gases by 18% compared to 1990 levels. And then there was COP19 or Warsaw, Poland. That was Warsaw Framework on RED+. What is RED+? Reducing emission from deforestation, desertification. Okay, and then Warsaw International Mechanism for Loss and Damage. So there is a mechanism which is introduced in Warsaw for loss and damage. Okay, because climate change or global warming, it can have three types impact. One is mitigation. You can either mitigate the measures. Another is adaptation, meaning you can adapt to the climate change. These are futuristic, okay, post-mortem kind of things. Post-mortem in the sense that everything is already happened, so you have to just focus on the front. You have to just focus on the impact of this one. But what about the losses which have already been accrued to the developing and developed nations? Okay, developing countries and developed countries. For this one, loss and damage fund. It was conceptualized in Warsaw Agreement and it was finally agreed in COP28. The recent COP28 loss and damage fund was finally agreed. Okay. Next, COP24 was in Katowice, which is also in Poland. It started the rule book for Paris Agreement, nations to be taken as per the NDCs. And then this was COP21, which is the Paris Finance Agreement. This is one of the most significant protocols or agreement. This Paris Agreement focused on global temperature, keeping the global temperature well below 2 degrees Celsius above the pre-industrial times, so that we cannot have futuristic problems. And then climate finance by rich countries, and that climate finance was $100 billion funding pledges. Okay, in this one, in Kyoto Protocol, there was binding targets. Here, instead of providing binding targets, what this Paris Agreement focused on was nationally determined contributions. That is, instead of we forcing you to adopt certain targets, you are going to adopt certain targets based on your voluntary contributions itself, based on your country's status. Okay, you outline your own national determined contributions. You yourself achieve those national determined contributions. Okay, and then there is COP26 in Glasgow, UK. In this, India announced the net zero target of 2070. India also called for the phase one of coal-based power Glasgow breakthrough agenda. And then COP27 was held at Sharm el Sheikh, Egypt. Sharm el Sheikh, Egypt was famous for loss and damage fund. Okay, what I already explained to you. It was finalized in like Sharm el Sheikh 2017, like COP 2017, but finally agreed upon in 2018. US 3.1 billion for early warning systems, G7 led global shield financing facility, and it also resulted in African carbon market initiative. It also resulted in action for water adaptation and resilience, and it also focused on mangrove alliance in partnership with India, and it also aligned with India's long-term low emission development strategy. Okay, so this is about UNFCCC and its history. Okay, so we'll end our discussion for today here. If you have any doubts regarding this one, do write in the comment box. If you have any suggestions for me regarding my teaching, regarding my classes, regarding my content, you can also write that in the comment box. If you have any other initiative, another topics to be discussed in the comment box, discussed in the video, write that in the comment box also. If you got anything out of this video, if you achieved anything out of this video, do like the video, comment on it, and share with your friends. And also subscribe to the Vinayak Y U Academy channel so that you don't miss any notification. With this, I will end the video. Jai Hind.